And so we're going to record this so that we can send it out to folks that couldn't be here so that they can get all this information. And hopefully, if you have any questions, it's the same questions as them. So yes, I hope that's okay with everybody. And as we're getting started, I'm going to say it one more time for anyone new on the call. My cell phone number is up on the screen. Please add that to your cell phone in case you need to contact me during the event. I will not be at my email during the event. I'll be running around like all of you will be. So my cell phone is the best way to get in touch with me in case anything happens. It is really just the best safety precaution is for us to be able to get in contact with each other. And plan for the day of the event, make sure your cell phone is fully charged and to bring it with you for this event. It'll help you navigate, help you take pictures, and be there in case anything comes up. Oh, we got more folks hopping in. If y'all are okay, maybe we'll give it one more minute. And drop in the chat any way that you found out about the Sampling Blitz, anything you want to share about yourself, let us know your name, your pronouns. If you're excited about the Blitz, we'd love to hear it. We are very excited. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous to tell you all this stuff, but I'm excited for this event. And Ben and Amy are here with me. They're my coworkers and helping make this event possible. So thanks all for being here. Wow, more friends just keep joining. This is great. Okay, so I think we should get started now. Amy, if you don't mind starting the recording. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the Wabash Sampling Blitz training. I'm Shannon Stanis. I'm the watershed coordinator for the Wabash River Enhancement Corporation. And we are very excited about this event. Thank you so much for signing up to participate and making this happen and joining us tonight for this virtual session. So I know I've sent you a ton of emails. I hope you're not dreading any of my emails, but this is kind of a complicated event with a lot of moving parts. So we just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page as we go into this. In non-pandemic times, when we check in, we go over the information we're going to go over tonight. But since we're doing, a contactless pickup and drop off, that's why we wanted to have tonight to kind of go over this information, make sure we all feel confident and prepared as we go into Friday. And we just really appreciate you sharing your time and your talents to help protect the Wabash River. So one more time for all of those who are new, please add my cell phone number to your cell phone right now. It is up on the screen. This is the best way to get in contact with me during the event because I will be running around too. So in case anything comes up, you get lost, you find something weird, just please have my cell phone number ready and handy so that you can contact me. I will not be near my email all day. So this is a stream sampling event. No one is actually going to go into the Wabash River itself, but we're going to be going into streams and tributaries that feed into the river. That's one of the #1 misconceptions that we have about this event. People are all ready to get into the river or very nervous to get in the river, but we're actually going to be going into the streams. So a quick agenda. This event, the Wabash Sampling Blitz, is an educational opportunity for us to engage with y'all, the community, and to explore a number of things. So we're testing for water quality of our streams. That's going to tell us about the health and the water quality in the Wabash River. And we're also going to explore the concept of a watershed. So our sub-watershed of the Wabash River is pictured here on the right and outlined in black. And we call it the region of the Great Bend of the Wabash River. And so a watershed describes all the area of land where water drains to a single point. And this is something that you're going to explore as you actually go out to streams that feed to the Wabash River. And again, I think it's just going to be real fun. So just as we've got an agenda here up on the screen about the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. I really hope that you had an opportunity to watch all the training videos that I emailed out and are on our website. If you haven't watched them tonight, already. Tonight might be a little bit confusing, but we'll get through it together. Just make sure you watch them by Friday. And of course, please stay home if you are sick. Just send me a text. I promise I won't be mad at you if you have to cancel. I just need to know, who's coming and who's not coming so that we can keep everybody safe during the event. So, stay home if you are feeling sick or if you've been around anyone else that is feeling sick. And then we're going to go over some things on this agenda today. So the first is that we have 2 stations for supply pickup. We originally thought that we wouldn't have a lot of participations and we'd have 1. So if you watch the pickup video, it says all supplies are picked up at the Lilly Nature Center. Well, so many of you have signed up to participate that we now have 2 sampling stations, or staging locations, I'm sorry. So there is the North Station, which is located at the Lilly Nature Center in Celery Bog in West Lafayette. And the South Station is at the Christ United Methodist Church, which is at 18th Street and Veterans Memorial Parkway. And so your sample group corresponds to your staging location. So if you have a sample group that starts with the letter N, you are leaving from the north. And if you have a sample group that starts with the letter S, you're leaving from the south. And so you'll pick up your supplies at the church. If your sample group starts with a W, you're sampling a west site, and those are actually divided between the north and the south. We used to have a west staging location, but we don't anymore. So make sure you check your email so that you know what site you are supposed to go to pick up your supplies. So at the north staging location at the Lilly Nature Center, you're going to get to it by entering Celery Bog off of Lindbergh Road. And there's a road that leads, one way back to the Lilly Nature Center, and you're going to come in. And your supplies are going to be spread out in the grass here in front of the Nature Center or on the pavement in front of the Nature Center too. So you can come up, if there's not a lot of people around, you can pause here, put your hazards on, hop out and pick up your supplies. But we ask if if there's people around, if there's visitors to Celery Bog, come over here and park and then walk over to find your supplies. Everything is going to be clearly labeled by your sampling group. So that's that 2-letter combination that I assigned you in the email. So that's going to be an N, an S, or a W to start, and then another letter after that. So make sure you know what sample group you are before you get there, so that you can pick up your supplies. And then now you kind of know with this map, where they're generally going to be spread out. Your supplies are going to be a blue bag that looks like this, a large transparency tube, and a pair of waders if you requested them. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. So at the south staging location, the church is generously letting us use their parking lot. So we're going to be set up on the east side of the church, and we're going to be back here at the end of this parking lot. So if you come in off of 18th Street and immediately make a left into that east parking lot, come all the way back, and then here in the grass, we're going to have the supplies set out. So at both staging locations, we will have a staff member there that's going to be, putting out the supplies in the morning, and then there to kind of watch over everything. We ideally, we'll have a contactless event, so you don't have to talk to this person, but they are there, in case something comes up, or if you have any questions, or you can't find your supplies, whatever, that person is there, you can wave them down. So when you pick up your supplies, we're asking that you do wear your mask and you maintain social distancing. So in both parking lots, you can kind of see if people are around, and you can wait a minute while people are picking up their supplies before you go get theirs. So just, even though we're outside, we just want to keep people spaced, and especially, wear your mask in case you do have to talk to our staff member that's attending the site. So we can have good practices that way. So there are not that many hazards that you will encounter here at the Sampling Blitz. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pause here to say, if you have questions as we're going, feel free to drop them in the chat, because at the end, we're going to have a question and answer session. I know I'm kind of going over a lot of information. But so one of the potential hazards that we honestly don't anticipate any of our volunteers finding, but anytime you're out in a remote area and sampling streams and creeks, it's important to know what a meth lab could look like. And so if you find like different from a trash dumping. Meth labs can look like a weird combination of household chemicals like cold or allergy medicine, camp fuel, drain cleaner, lithium batteries, rubbing alcohol, nail polish remover with acetone, salt, or like these 2-liter bottles that you see here with like just weird stuff in them. Those are all kind of like signs that like this might not just be somebody dumping trash, that this might be a meth lab. If you see stuff like that, what I want you to do is just take a picture of it and text it to me and let me know what site you're at. And then I will get the right people to take care of it. So we don't want you to touch anything like that. Just leave it alone, text me a picture. And then if you, if it's away from the stream and you can still sample, that's awesome. But if it's like in your way at all, just skip that site. If you're uncomfortable for any reason, there's no reason to get a sample. Your safety and comfort is most important to us. The other potential hazard that you can encounter is that you are going into streams. So some of the streams are going to be easy to get into, and other ones might have steep sides in them where you have to do a bit more of climbing. So you should kind of be mentally prepared that they're not all going to be like walk-in ready sites for you at this during this event. However, if it's like really steep, or if there's barbed wire or like an electric fence that maybe a farmer's put up to keep his cattle out of the stream or something, you don't need to navigate anything that you're uncomfortable with. We don't want you to go by the electric fence. We don't want you to have to deal with barbed wire. So if there are hazards in the way, please mark it on your data sheet. On the back, I'll show you where to write that. Write down that you couldn't access the site and why, because then we know not to send people there again. And then don't worry about it. So no sample is worth compromising your safety. If you don't feel like you can safely climb into the stream, then don't worry about it. It's just time to go to the next site. But also keeping in mind that they're not all, you're not walking into a pool. You are walking into a stream that's out in nature. So it might be a little bit difficult. So kind of finding that balance within your own comfort level. Okay, so in your blue bag, when you pick it up, there's going to be a clipboard, and that clipboard is going to guide you through this whole event. Your clipboards are going to be labeled. Hopefully you can see this. Like I said, everything is going to be really clearly labeled for you when you go to pick it up. So this is your sample group, right? And then there's going to be a reminder that says, I don't know if you can see me, but it says, please pick up an ice pack from the cooler and put it in your blue bag. So there will be a cooler properly labeled, and then you'll go over, grab an ice pack, put that in your blue bag. And then I want you to take out your clipboard and use it as your guiding process through the whole event. On your clipboard are so many things that are going to make this day so much fun for you. One of them is a landowner letter. So what this is if you encounter, it just looks like a letter if you can't see my picture, and it explains what we're doing, who we are, and why you're there, right? So it explains what the Sampling Blitz is, and it has my contact information. So if you encounter anybody, a lot of these are in agricultural fields, you might bump into a farmer, right? Or maybe you're near a neighborhood or something. You encounter somebody and they're like, what are you doing? And you can give them this letter and then you can just walk away. And then they can call me, and if they're upset or something, then they can yell at me, and you don't have to worry about any conflict. That being said, nobody has encountered a landowner that's upset, and I don't actually know anyone that's encountered an upset landowner. Every once in a while, people do bump into somebody and they say, hey, what are you doing? And then they tell them, and then everything's fine. So again, this isn't something to stress about, but this is here for you. And with the pandemic, I know people don't want to talk to other people that they don't know, especially if they're not masked. So, just hand this letter and move on with your life. So also on your clipboard is the Sampling Blitz fact sheet. And so this is really fun. It explains all of the parameters that we're testing for today, like what we're looking for about water quality and why it's important. So this is really great to read while you're out in the streams or while you're in the car with your partner, if you can read in the car, so that you know kind of more about why all this stuff is important and what we're looking for. And then each sampling group, because I've assigned you individual sampling groups, is going to sample unique sites. So you are going to a site that no one else is going to visit during this event, just you. So you have specific driving directions to your specific sites. There are turn-by-turn directions from your staging location. And then there's also GPS coordinates. If you prefer to use that, you can put them into your phone and just use, or a GPS device and use it that way. Now, what you're going to be looking for when you're trying to find your sites is all of our sites are where a stream crosses a road. So when you, so it's going to say something like, you know, you go a little bit past this intersection and then you're going to be wanting to look for that stream. So once you get to your point, you want to find a safe place to pull over and get out of the car. And so a lot of these are in the country. So, you know, putting on your hazards is something helpful, and just like be careful as you're doing that. But then once you, once you get to your point, you find a safe place to park and you get out, that's when you actually do your sampling, following all the directions from the videos. At one of your sites, you're going to fill up a second water bottle for E. coli. And so that's indicated on your driving directions. It has a note that says, oh, this is your site. For me, my example is site W34. It says including an extra E. coli sample. So there's going to be another bottle in your bag for that site that's labeled E. coli. And you're going to want to fill that up the same way that you fill up the sample bottle. I think that's everything to say about that. So you also, in your clipboard, handy dandy clipboard, have instructions for all the sampling we're doing. So you've watched the videos and you've committed it to memory, but you're out there and you say, oh wait, how do we do transparency again? Okay, well, it's on this handy dandy sheet for you. So this is also a good thing to go over, and in case you forget anything. Okay, and then the next thing that's on there is instructions for your test strips. So they're going to be this, you hopefully watch the video where you are going to be actually testing the water that you collect with test strips for pH, nitrogen, and nitrogen and phosphorus. And then the scales are actually on this sheet that's laminated for you. And Amy's going to go over this in a minute. Okay, and then next is you have a data sheet. This is what the front of your data sheet looks like. These are our partners, and Duke Energy actually helped sponsor the event this year. So thank you to them. And all your data sheet is important. You're gonna want the whole thing filled out before you turn it in at the end of the day. And the most important thing that you're gonna do as soon as you pick up your supplies is fill out this top section right here. So we need the names first and last of everyone in your group. You're also going to put your start time and your mileage and the date, especially because we have 2 days. So we want to know your Friday or Saturday. And this information is important for a number of reasons, because maybe we can't read your handwriting and we got to call you up and say, hey, you know, what is this, a 7 or a 6, you know? But then also your time participating on this counts as match on our grant that we have from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And so it shows that people in the community are committed to efforts to improve water quality because they're donating their time and their mileage in their cars participating in this event. So that's really important. It helps us to get future grants, and all of those grants help us improve water quality and connect more people to the river. So please, please, please fill that out so that we know who to contact, and we can show our funder as well if people are participating. Because there's so many people on this call right now. So that's the top. And then you'll notice the bottom of your data sheet, you have a row for each site that you're going to visit. You're going to have 3 to 5 sites to visit. Most people visit 4. And that's going to all be on your clipboard. And you're going to write down your sample time, and you're going to record your temperature and transparency measurement. And that's all going to be done in the stream. So this is why, one of the reasons why we really want people to have a partner for the event, because while someone's in the stream taking temperature, somebody can be on the shore, you know, writing this down in the clipboard. Just makes things a lot easier. And then you don't drop the clipboard into the water. And then after you collect your temperature and transparency measurements and you fill up a bottle for testing, you fill up your sample bottle that's indicated for your specific site. You're going to go back to your car or like a flat surface, wherever you can find, and you're going to use the test strips that are also in your bag. You can take a breath, everybody. Oh, I can't find them. Your test strips are all going to be in these small Ziploc bags labeled for you. And you're going to use your handy dandy clipboard with your scales to do those test strips and then record them on your data sheet. And then your test strips, when you're done, they can just go back into your bag. Don't put a wet test strip back in with the dry test strips, because then it'll get the dry test strips wet and it'll mess up your results for your other sites. I hope that makes sense. But so yeah, at each stream, you're going to be taking all these measurements and you're going to be filling a sample bottle that you're going to take with you after you leave that stream. You're going to put it in your blue bag that has the ice pack in it, right? And then when you're all done, you're going to turn in those sample bottles and the rest of these supplies. And then we actually send those samples to Purdue University, and then they get analyzed further. So you're doing these test strips for these parameters, and then they're going to get tested again at Purdue using some fancy equipment. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So I hope that all makes sense. So the back of your data sheet has a site access survey that we'd love if you filled out. So you can tell us your site number, and then how high was the water, how steep was the site, and how hard it was to get into. And then anything else that you have, if you have problems, if something was really interesting, you can write it down here in this comment section. This is all really important, and it helps us send folks to good sites and helps us know if we need to retire any sites that are just always a problem. So the next thing that's on your data sheet, take a breath, drink some water, is a map of all of the sites from your staging location. So this is what it looks like for the north. And this is just something to kind of put things into perspective for you. Hopefully your sites are going to be highlighted. So if you are NI, or you can use the legend, you can find like where your sites are. And then you see, oh, this is the staging location. So this kind of puts into perspective, okay, we're generally going north, and then we're going a little bit west, right? And kind of like where we're going today. Because we want you to know where you're headed off to, right? And so the next one is we have another map that shows a satellite view of where you're going. And then each site is indicated with this pink dot. And then your E. coli site, where you fill up that second bottle, is indicated with a star. So that's here on the map. And then this is helpful to know, because it's like, oh, you're driving, oh, you start to see the lake. Oh, okay, our site's probably coming up, and it's going to be, where this road hits a T. Again, just like helping you figure out where your site is, where you're going, and how kind of it all fits in. Something else that we really want folks to think about with this experience, right, is like how your data reflects the environmental conditions around you. So was your stream really hot? Was your stream really cool because maybe there was shade nearby? Or maybe you're in between two soy fields and that's so short, there's no shade, you got hot water. And then also just with this map reminding you to take your E. coli sample. So the next helpful thing you have on your data sheet, or on your clipboard, is a picture of each site that you're going to go to. And so these are just generally helpful, so you kind of know like what you're looking for, what the stream conditions are. And you'll see that your sites are all numbered by their direction, the N, S, or W. And then there's a unique number for each site. Just like you have a unique letter for your sampling group, there are unique numbers for each site. And so those are important, so you make sure you're filling up the correct water bottle for the correct site, if that makes sense, because your bottles are already labeled. We'll get back to that. I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. If any of these pictures look totally wrong, or if there's like a more helpful angle that would have gotten you the site quicker or something, feel free to take a new picture and then email it to me. Let me know what site it is, and then we can update that picture so that future volunteers have an easier time getting there. Okay, so this part is a little bit confusing if you have not watched the videos yet, but hopefully you've watched the videos. So there are a few things in these videos, because they were made for other watershed groups that don't totally apply to what we're doing. But like 95% of it is on the mark, which is why we use them. So all your bottles in your sampling bag are already labeled for you. You don't need to worry about labeling them with anything extra. So these aren't exactly the same bottles that you're going to use, but the labels are the same. So each site, this one is labeled for E. coli. Hopefully you can see that, right? And this one is labeled for just W14. So these are two different sites, but generally what your bottles look like. So don't worry about writing anything else in the bottles. Just use the right bottle for the right site that you're at. And then in the video, they used like much bigger bottles than we did. Our bottles are going to be about this size. So you do want to fill up so that we have enough water for the lab to test. The video says to leave an inch, but don't leave an inch. So just fill the bottle all the way up. I hope this isn't confusing. Okay, in the transparency video or turbidity, two words for describing similar things, we are going to use the tube method. So it's the first method that they talk about in the video. And our transparency tubes do have a release valve at the bottom, so it makes it really nice and handy. And you just need to take one measurement at each stream. So you're still going to do transparency at each stream, but you just need to take one measurement there. And there's no conversion that you have to do. So directly write down whatever you read on the side of the tube. The side of the tube is in centimeters, so you should have a reading from 0 to 120. If your stream is super clear, that means that the tube was full at 120 centimeters full of water, and you could see the target at the bottom. And then if your stream wasn't clear, then you have to let out a little bit of water until you see that target at the bottom, and then you're going to record that value on the side. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that doesn't confuse you, and if it does, we'll figure it out at the Q&A. But the video, they converted it. We don't need to convert it, so just write down that number. Sorry. For temperature, they marked their site. You don't need to mark the site. We already know where everything is because we have those GPS coordinates for it, right? And you don't need to record the air temperature. We'll take care of that for the day. And then they talk about in the video, like if you have a hard time reading your temperature in the stream, you can just use the sample bottle that we're providing you. You can fill that with water and then take the temperature reading with that. So they do say like maybe bring another bottle or something. You don't need to bring another bottle. You can just use all the supplies that you have with you. Make sure that you do, your transparency reading and your temperature reading, and then you fill up your bottle completely. Then you do your test strips, and then you close the bottle, keep it tight, put it in your blue bag, and take it with you. Then you go to the next site and you repeat the same process. That all makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to take a break and Amy's going to talk about the test strips.
Okay, so like Shannon said, you have a video on how to use the test strips, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. So basically, you're just going to dip the strip into your sample bottle, follow the instructions for that specific strip, so let it soak for however long the instructions say for that test, and then let the strip sit out in the air without shaking the water off of it for however long the directions say. And then, Shannon, would you advance ones?
Absolutely, I can advance one.
And then you just hold the strip up to the scales that we're providing you that Shannon talked about. And you will have to make a judgment call. You're just going to match the colors as close as you can. So you can see on this phosphorus scale, it goes from pink to gray. So somewhere in the middle, it gets a little hard to tell the difference. You just got to make a judgment call. Is it more pink? Is it slightly more gray? We're going to trust your judgment on this. And then you can see the nitrogen, the nitrate and nitrite scales below that. So you'll have 2 measurements for the nitrogen test strips. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Oh.
And then the pH, there's actually enough readings that you'll have 2 different scales for the pH. It goes from 0 to 14. Most likely, unless there's something seriously wrong with the stream, you're going to land somewhere between the 6 and the 8. So you'll most likely have the yellow and green coloration on your test strip for pH, but there are a lot more options. Okay. So you guys overall are going to be looking at chemical properties, physical properties, and biological properties in streams. The chemical properties you're looking at are, like we already said, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and pH. Those are all nutrient measurements, and they can be influenced by things like fertilizer flowing into streams, livestock manure, sewage, and then rainwater runoff. So you can imagine things like fertilizer and livestock manure, they're going to influence plant growth and algal growth because of the nutrients in that runoff. So they're going to, and as the algal growth gets influenced, that changes the chemical properties in the water. So these can lead to algal blooms and eventually eutrophication. Some of the physical properties you guys are looking at are clarity and temperature. And the clarity is measured using that transparency tube. So you're basically going to be looking at how transparent or how clear the water is. So if there's a lot of sediment in the water, it's going to have really low transparency. So if you think about things like the Wabash River after a big rain event, if you've seen the river, it gets very brown. That's a high turbidity or a low transparency. So things like stormwater runoff, erosion, like I just mentioned, going into the Wabash, even algal growth. If there's a lot of algae in the water, you're going to have lower transparency. Impervious surfaces near water. So if you imagine a big black parking lot, rainwater hitting that parking lot after it's been baking in the sun all day, that rainwater is going to heat up really quickly as it runs off into the stream, and that can influence the temperature of the stream. And then even just the climate. If we have extreme weather events like a really hot day, then that's going to change the temperature of the stream as well. So as clarity and temperature change, that can impact light penetration. So you can imagine if the water is really cloudy and dirty, light's not going to penetrate it as easily. That's going to impact how algae grows on the stream bottom. It'll also tell us about chemical reactions and biological processes. So as temperatures rise in the water, that also increases the rate of chemical reactions and metabolic rates in organisms in the water. So temperature has a huge influence on chemical properties influence physical properties. It's all intertwined. And then the biological aspect you guys are looking at are the E. coli measurements. So you're not actually going to have those measurements in the field to measure. You're just collecting that sample, and then it's going to get measured back in the lab. And E. coli is influenced a lot by livestock manure that can flow into the stream, by sewage, such as stuff from our combined sewer overflows in the cities. And E. coli is really hazardous to human health. So this is sort of the aspect of outdoor recreation. If a stream isn't safe for people to go fishing or canoeing in, then they're not going to want to recreate as much. So you guys are looking at the human element of streams, the ecological element of streams, and then also how we're influencing communities downstream of us. Okay, if you want to advance one more.
Sure.
So this is the maps an example of the maps that we're going to make after you guys have finished sampling and you've gotten your results, and we can look over your data sheets and the lab analyzes your samples. We've built these maps and we actually post them on our website so that you can see the results of the entire blitz and what everybody else collected and how that compares to your sites. So this is the same watershed area that Shannon showed you in the beginning of the talk. You can kind of see the three different regions, the sort of north lump of the watershed, the western area, and then the southern area. And then you can kind of orient yourself if you find West Lafayette and Lafayette sort of in the middle there. And this is just temperature measurements. So it just shows you sort of where the cooler streams are. You can see a couple streams in there that were at really hot temperatures. Maybe they were shallow, maybe they were running through ag fields. where there wasn't any shade, just that sort of thing. So these will all be available online.
Yeah. And something I think that's really cool about this event is that we've actually been doing this for 10 years. So there's 10 years of water quality data publicly accessible to view on our website. So everyone in our community can understand how water quality is doing, right, over time by just looking at these maps. So even if you can't participate, you can still be involved and know what's going on. Something else with the data, so the Blitz is kind of two purposes. There's education outreach that we're engaging with you all right now. You're learning more about water quality and the watershed, but then we're also collectively as a community getting to know more about the water quality in our community. And that knowledge, is power. And so this is something that we can see, how things are doing over time, and also maybe identify like hotspots or problem areas in the watershed. And like your observations, what you see in the stream are really, really helpful. So whether maybe you're seeing cows in the stream, or really bad erosion, that is all important information for us as a watershed community to have. So we really appreciate that. So we really appreciate all your observations and participating in this effort. So we're going to do some questions right now. I've put my cell phone number back up and a beautiful picture of the Wabash. So remember to put my number in the phone and to contact me if you have any questions, if you need to cancel because you're sick or you've been around somebody that's sick. And whew, that was a lot. Thanks, everybody. I can see a few questions here. I've asked Ben to moderate, but for the West sampling groups, in the email I sent you, at the top of the email, it should say where you are assigned. It should say either the North or Lilly Nature Center or the South. And if you can't find it in your email, just send me an email and we'll get that clarified for you. I'm just going to power through. And if anyone else has questions, please drop them in the chat. And then after I answer these next two, we can unmute the phones if anyone on a phone has a question to ask. The start times are not strict. So if you said that you were coming in the afternoon, but you want to come in the morning, that's totally okay. The earlier we get the sampling done, the better, because then we get everything to the lab and we're in good shape for the day. So that's fine. We just really don't want anyone picking up their samples after 5. And even after 5 is like pushing it. So, or getting close to 5 is pushing it. So if you could pick up your pick up your supplies before 4, that's ideal. But if you need to come earlier, hey, that's great. Come earlier, we'll get the Blitz done. We'll get your data back and we'll all have a great day. And Alexis asked a great question. So before filling the bottle, please do rinse it 3 times like in the video. So that just like gets anything that might be in the bottle, while the other sanitized kind of gets anything that's in the bottle out of the bottle that might be like residue from before. So please do rinse it and 3 times like they do in the video. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions? I will let folks interrupt me for sure, but I just want to clarify really quick because I got a little nervous with what I said. So you go and you pick up your supplies, right? And you fill out your clipboard and you've grabbed an ice pack, and then you get in the car and you drive to your sites. And at each site, you're going to enter the stream, you're going to take temperature, and you're going to measure transparency, right? And then you're going to fill up the designated bottle for that stream. And then if there's a second E. coli bottle, fill that one up too. Then you do your test strips and you record all that data. And then you put your bottle in your bag, in your blue bag, and you take it with you and you go to the next site and then you repeat. So you do temperature, transparency again, fill up your bottle, do your test strips, make sure all that information is recorded, go to the next site. Once you've done all your sites, then you take your sample bottle back with all your sample bottles back with you, and you're going to drop them off in a cooler that's labeled. It'll say, please put your supplies here. Oh, and we're going to have hand sanitizer out right next to that cooler, where you're going to pick, right next to the coolers where you pick up an ice pack and where you drop off your samples. So, hand sanitize right when you get back. And this is important not just because of the pandemic that's going on, but also, as Amy mentioned, there is E. coli in our waterways. That's why we're measuring for it at some of the sites. And so you want to make sure that you wash your hands before you eat. And if you're a nail biter like me, don't bite your nails while you're doing the sampling, because you just don't want to get any of that stream water in your system in case the E. coli counts are high. And we won't know that until you return your samples. Yeah, so the hand sanitizer is good to help with COVID, but then also to help with E. coli. So I hope that's nice and clear.
Does anyone on the phone have any questions? I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. Please save my email. Email me if anything comes up or if you have any questions at all. And we really appreciate you participating, and we hope you have so much fun, because the Blitz is a unique experience. Unless you're in water quality, not like anything you've done before, but it is a really, really good time. So bring snacks and water, stay hydrated. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you over the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.